6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 4, 3.
Hello my dear friends, this is going to be the new exciting journey because we are going to start the new technology that we are calling the thinking tools, because every one of you has an awareness about this thing that we all are the humans and we have the need to think about it. But the problem is when we think we should be always using some tools, we should not be thinking in an absurd way. So let's find out what it's about. Before that, I would like to start with this question to all of you. What is on your mind right now? I would like to know that what is on your mind. So think about it for a second. Now if you have already think about it, now you already have this idea what is on your mind. I would like to ask you to go back and think about what was there before that. So what was your previous second last thought? Then I want to go into third last thought, fourth last and fifth last. To my all the friends who can actually go until the fifth part, you are actually the marvelous and the greatest guy. You have the greatest thinking potential and you should be really proud of yourself. Now it's a treat question. Who is the guy in the picture? He is Sir Mr. Winston Churchill. He was the Prime Minister of the Great Britain. He was the one who actually led the Great Britain in, and he actually helped in win the war. He has a very famous quote, give us the tools and we will finish the job. Now my question to all my dear friends is, what is the biggest tool that the man has got? It is basically its ability to think and reason. It's what we should always be proud of, because all the things that we have in our disposal, maybe it's a phone or a laptop or anything, is just not going to be a very useful thing for us. But our ability to think, reason and apply the thinking and thought is going to be helpful. Now let's go to the first thinking tool. If you want to process, then you should use the thinking tool number 1, which is a critical thinking. The critical thinking basically based on 5 why and 5 what if for any topic or any issue or anything you want to dive deep into to find something, why something is not working or why something is working, or if you choose a solution, what is going to be the impact of implementing that solution in the future. So you should always ask this question. Now let me give you an example. Few days back I went to the hawker center to buy some food. I bought food and then I ate it, and the next day morning I felt critically ill. When I fell ill, I visited the doctor and the doctor asked me, sir, what have you done to yourself? What you have eaten? I told him, I've eaten at the hawker center, and that is why I fall sick, and therefore this is the reason. Then I thought the food that I ate was very clean. It was actually created in a very clean environment. What made it so bad? So I finally found out that the food was not contaminated. The problem was in the plate, because when the food was served in a plate, the plate was just came from the washer and there were the droplets. And when there are droplets on the plate, what it is home for? The viruses and the bacteria. So even though the food was clean, because of the viruses or the bacteria in the plate, I felt critically ill. So the solution was, when the dish comes out of the washer, it should be always kept upside down so that the air goes inside, cleans up all the surface and dries it out, so that you will stay healthy. And that's how the thinking tool, critical thinking, helps me to find out the solution for the real problem. Let's move on to the next one. Is a comparative thinking. Comparative thinking is all the experience based. It is basically thinking between apple and apple dash. It's basically the comparison between the two stuffs, two events, two people, two situations, one and another one. So let's take an example. I did the study for the software debugging. All the people who are doing the software development across the world could have also already faced this issue. The thinking tool, comparative thinking, is basically the gaining the experience through comparing the two different aspects or the little difference between the same particular thought. So when you have an issue, you face and then you debug it, you solve it. When the next time issue comes, you compare it with the previous one, and then you try to figure out what was the delta, and that particular delta helps you to find out the solution of the problem. So this is the best part of the comparative thinking. All the people, those who are working in the software industry or anywhere, they need the analytical ability to solve the problem quickly based on their experience, is basically because they do the comparative thinking. They have a huge stack of this experience that they get, and then they accommodate, and then they just use it for their future. Now let's go to the next thinking tool, which is a logical thinking. Logical thinking involves a yes or no. You might have observed that while thinking, there are so many thoughts coming into the mind, whether this is working or that is not working, and there are so many things to choose from. But when you use the logical thinking, there is no way to stop. You just go, and there is no stopping. Logical thinking is based on yes, no, or maybe. So let's take this example, how actually the logical thinking works. If you don't like the food, or if you are too obese and you want to avoid the food, the first thought that comes to your mind when you see a very incredible tempting sweet is that, should I eat it? What will happen if I eat? What will not happen if I eat? But instead of that, you can simply ask, if eating this sugar is going to help me, is the answer yes or no? The answer comes no. Will eating the sugar will increase my blood sugar level? The answer is yes or no? Answer is yes. Is the increased blood sugar level in my current medical situation is acceptable to me or not? The answer comes no. So you see, by just answering the question yes or no, you can simply come to a conclusion that you should not touch that piece of sugar that is going to be very bad for you. Now there is also a study done by myself on this particular thinking tool on whether or not the life as a minimalist should be used or not. A life as a minimalist is basically the person who try to live the life in the minimal resources are available to him. So the life as a minimalist actually asks this question while he buys anything or while he pitch for anything on every urge, that do I really need this product in my life? Yes or no? Do I live without this? Yes or no? If the answers really come yes, then he buys it. That way he solves the biggest problem, that he can actually control his spending, and not only that, he creates this world for himself and around his people where things can be managed in a most least possessions. So this is the logical thinking tool, really helpful, really powerful, and everybody encouraged to be used this. Let's go to the next thinking tool now, is a creative thinking. My dear friends, you might have think about something, you might have different thoughts about many things that you want to do in your life, but what is it that is stopping you? Did you ever ask this question to yourself? If you want to do something, you may be finding 1,000 reasons why it should not be done, or why once you do it, it will be failed. But have you ever asked once to yourself, if you do something, how can you be able to afford it? How can you be able to do it? How can you be able to change it? Maybe it's a behavior of a person or a situation in a society, or your financial situation, or your personal or emotional space. When you ask this question, a little new horizon will open. Then you go and search the people, then you go and search the idea, then you go and search with the many different aspects of it. You try to find out how can it be possible. I would like to show you this one. I was very shy guy. I was very afraid to speak in front of people. I was very afraid that when I speak, people will make fun of me, they will laugh at me, and so on. But that didn't stop me in starting my own YouTube channel. Because I know if they're going to laugh at me, that's for just a second. But if I don't do it, I'll be laughing on myself when I don't have the time. So the time is right now, my friend, for you to do something that you are always born to do. So what you have done lately? Ask yourself this question. Ask yourself, if you want to do something, how can you be able to do it? What is it in your hand? What is it that you know to do something else? So you should always use this creative thinking tool to challenge yourself. Let's go to the next thinking tool now. Is the interface thinking. The interface thinking basically involves recognizing the patterns and then the relationship between the patterns and then because of understanding the patterns and relation, finding what you can do about it. Now there was a study done by me in my own company, but I won't be giving that example because that may be too specific to my company, but I would like to give you a very common and a generic example in this case. Understanding a pattern means basically how things work around you. It's not about actually asking the question why things are working the way they are right now, but it's actually asking the question how things work around you. Let's take an example. Take an example of the political situation in your country or your local or your neighborhood, and you find it what is a reason why that is happening. Don't do that. It's just against the interface rule. What you should be actually doing is finding how these things is work and what is your intention then to change the things that you don't like or you find it's too complicated or not good for your neighborhood. Then you find what should be the solution for that. And once you do that, you are actually being a part of problem in spite of seeing the problem firsthand, in spite of complaining about the problems, in spite of nagging about the problem again and again and again, you are trying to find out the solution on that. That makes you an interface thinking expert. So you need to find out with what input, what output is basically going to produce in a particular situation with a particular governing body or with a particular person or with a particular situation. It could be anything. Just find the pattern and then decide what you want to do with it. Use that thinking tool and then you will be unstoppable, my dear friend. This is by far the most powerful tool in the world of politics, by the way. And then comes the pause. Mind is a machine, and every machine now and then needs the rest. Mind is no exception. When you think too much, when you use these 5 thinking tools again and again, so many times, you need to take a pause. You need to take a pause. Close your eyes and look inside. What is happening? Remember, my dear friends, we are all human. We have our emotions. If we are thinking on basis on our emotions, that would be too emotional thinking. Then we would not be able to use these thinking tools. That's why it's always important to stop for a while and clear it and then go ahead in the next level. And my dear friend, coming to the last part of my presentation today is always think in past, present and future. If you are thinking in past, please think to learn something out of your own mistakes or the mistakes done by the other or the things those happened in the past. You try to learn from them. Then it is good in learning in the past. Don't think in the past to regret something about maybe the loss of a business or loss of a loved one or loss of something that you suffered. Don't think about it because it's not worth it. When you think in the present, you should always be thinking in solving the problem. You should not try to find a reason to delay something you want to do right now in your life. And when you think in the future, you should always think to plan ahead, not about getting anxious, not try to get anxious about the things that you haven't seen until now. So with that, my friend, I wish you all the very best in your thinking journey, and I wish that you will use all the 5 thinking tools and the 6th, the most important, the pause thinking tool, to make yourself good financially, to make yourself profound socially, and to build yourself physically. With that, thank you, and I see you in the next video. Bye bye.